But interestingly enough, he then went on to talk about the multicultural nature of Britain, which we were talking about just before he spoke. And I have to say, there will be people listening to that, sitting in their houses in different parts of Britain, Jewish people who will be saying, I'm sorry, I'm not very proud of the multicultural nature of Britain. I'm not very proud of the fact that I can't go into central London on a Saturday anymore because there's a hate speech mob ranting and raving up and down Piccadilly and calling for the extinction of Israel. You know, I think he's got that wrong. I don't think we are seen as a beacon of multiculturalism around the world, are we?
Oh yeah, well, this remains the area where the Labour Party definitely has its head in the sand. That last part of the speech would have been fine in the 1990s or in the 2000s.
Yes.
It's not fit for purpose for the 2020s, unfortunately. You know, the old adage, if you import the world, you import the world's problems.
Well, you've pointed out in the past, Rafe, very, very smartly, that we've had more immigration, I think, in the last 25 years?
In the last 25 years.
Than we've had in our entire history.
And in the last 2,000 years.
And that is a very telling statistic.
Yeah, and we get in 1 year more than the entire decade of the 1990s. We get 12 years of the 90s, basically, in 1 year now. And no society can actually sustain that.
No.
Can absorb people like that. That's why you're getting segregation growing ever more. And we know from evidence and research, Muslims who live in segregated communities are twice as likely to support radical extremism.
Right. And also, it's not a small number anymore. I mean, we're told there are 5 million Muslim votes out there in this country, which, if there are 5 million Muslim votes, means that there are many more Muslims than 5 million, because not everybody has the vote. Children don't have the vote. So, I mean, you know, this is no longer a small minority of people, in the same way that when, for example, there was a great move from Ireland, from the Republic of Ireland, when people moved to Britain to find work, and they remained here and they stayed here. When Italian people came here, when people came here after the war, when Jewish people came here, you know, it was almost, even during the Windrush generation, you know, it wasn't a very big number of people.
Well,
so it wasn't as noticeable as it is now.
It's a huge demographic, and we have to say, you know, the majority of Muslims are very, very well integrated, and we must celebrate that. That is a success story. But it's not an overwhelming majority, and that's something which we really need to be adult about. 9% of UK Muslims support terrorism and Islamic fundamentalism.
Yes.
That's over 350,000 people. Now, 15% sympathise with Islamic fundamentalism, compared with only 6% in France, for example. The most shocking statistic I know is that 1/3 of young Muslims in this country, 16 to 24, believe that anyone who leaves the faith should be put to death. So these are astonishing stats, which no one is actually talking about. Now, if people wanted to question my polling on this, I tweeted about this a few days ago. So just go to my Twitter account, and I've got the sources for all of these facts. 23% of Muslims don't believe there's anything called Islamic extremism.
Right.
Only 7% of Muslims believe that Al-Qaeda was behind 9/11. Most of them think it was America or Jews.
Listen, we're going to have to get you back on to explore these numbers more, because that's a fascinating thing you've just told me. Rafe Heydel-Mankoo, thank you very much indeed. Because we're told 73%, I think, of the Muslim community votes Labour, and there's 5 million Muslim people living here. So he has to take notice of that, I suppose, as well.
It's very significant. Well, of course, 80% of ethnic minorities tend to vote for the Labour Party. That's one of the reasons that Tony Blair actually opened the doors to mass migration, was to ensure that the Labour Party would have a good electorate in the decades to come. But you're absolutely right. And we've had talk recently of a new Muslim party being established. People are aware of this demographic, and of course, he's conscious of that too. Now, he's actually playing a very good game in terms of the general election, because he understands that to become a majority governing party, you need to bring over the centre ground. And the centre ground were very put off by Jeremy Corbyn's clear anti-Semitism in the refusal to condemn Hamas, and always having a pro-Palestinian approach. So I think, if you're looking at mathematics, actually, this will still work in Labour's favour if Keir Starmer continues down this road. But undeniably, this is a big problem, not so much on the parliamentary level, but on the council level. Because so many councils, particularly in the north of England, are dominated by Muslim Labour councillors.